Hey guys, before coming to Singapore for work, बहुत लोग सोचते हैं ये क्या डेवलप्ड और सेफ कंट्री है, मचा देंगे। या फिर ये मस्त घर में रहेंगे, लग्जरी कार में घूमेंगे। या ये सैलरी के पूरे पैसे कहीं एक्सपेंसेस और टैक्स में ना निकल जाए। या फिर ये इतना छोटा सा है, कहाँ घूमेंगे। लेकिन क्या आपको पता है कि इसमें से कुछ भी पूरा सही या पूरा गलत नहीं है। To know the reality, we have to invite a person जिसने इंडिया में 3 साल काम किया है, सिंगापुर में 2 साल काम किया है. So let's welcome Rajesh and get to know what is it like to work in Singapore, expectations versus reality. Hey Rajesh, thanks a lot for joining for this conversation. How are you?
I'm good, Amit. Thanks for having me in this video, and I'm pretty excited to share my experience.
Okay, so let's get started with our questions. But before that, let me brief you about the format. So this is a very unique video where we'll be discussing about expectations versus realities of working in Singapore. So I will give you few topics and you will tell me what was your expectations and what was the reality. So let's get started, right?
Yeah, let's get started.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to ask, when you entered Singapore, what was your first impression of the city and how did you find it for a city to live?
Yeah, so basically, when I knew that I'm moving to Singapore, I was pretty excited because मैंने बहुत सुन रखा था सिंगापुर के बारे में कि काफी फार सिटी है. Like it's known for its cleanliness, safety, security, culture, and a lot of things. So काफी excited था, and these were all basic expectations. So when I moved to Singapore, then like most of the expectations were really like met. सही में it's pretty cool. काफी clean, safe, secure city है with like lot of like developed areas. काफी developed city है. People are also like pretty nice to talk to. तो काफी अच्छा experience रहा when I moved to Singapore. There was one thing which I noticed that might be like that is something that I should share, that people seem to be little it's little difficult to open up to people because they don't do small talk like other places that you might observe in other places like US or Europe. So if you are not very outgoing, you might find a little difficult to make new friends. So most of my friends are from my work, and yeah, so I found it a little difficult to have friends outside of my work.
So moving on to our next question, let's discuss about housing, because if anybody enters Singapore, the first thing they do is house hunting. So what was your expectation regarding the houses in Singapore and the prices, and what was the reality?
So Singapore आने के बाद, I kind of like I knew beforehand that Singapore is a very costly country and it would be very difficult. The houses will mostly be expensive, but I had in mind that the houses that I'll see वो काफी मतलब modern होंगे, developed होंगे. It would be different from the flats in India. That was like some sort of expectation that I will find something different. So in reality, when I started looking for housing, like after my initial accommodation by the company, I started looking for houses to rent. There, I noticed that the houses posted on different websites, those were super expensive. And when I personally visited those places, I found that काफी छोटे छोटे घर थे. To us कि इतना महंगा घर और वो भी छोटा, and it was like basic. So I realized कि yeah, Singapore is really expensive and you will not get value of money in the house that you live in. So like, but on the other hand, if you have lots of money, you can buy expensive places. Like for example, if you are able to spend like 4,000 SGD on housing, then you can rent out a condo which is really modern and different. But for a lesser amount, yeah, you won't be able to find something that value of money. So
would you be okay to share what house are you living in? So I know it's a 2-bedroom apartment, but what's the price of it?
yeah, so it's a HDB, which is the government housing of Singapore, and the price is like 2,200 SGD.
So it's like 1.1 L in INR. And for that, you are just getting a 2-bedroom apartment and not getting any swimming pool or any other facilities, right?
Yeah, so the HDBs does not have those facilities.
Okay, so moving to the next question. Once you have moved into a house, the next thing you take care of is your mobility. How you move around in the city, how is the public transport, and what are the transportation facilities apart from public transport. So can you brief about that?
So before coming to Singapore, my general expectation were कि Singapore एक छोटा सा जगह है. It's like a tiny island. So public transportation should be good considering small area अच्छे से covered होगा. The other thing that I knew was they had Grab taxi. So I knew that taxi and ये सब रहेंगे, but they might be a little expensive. So that was general perception. When I moved to Singapore, I realized that literally the public transport is extremely good. बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा है. Like for example, I'll share one experience that I really liked is when you move from a metro from one place to another, and if you take a bus from that place to your a house or something, they only charge you on the distance. They don't like have a base charge for both metro and both bus. They kind of like have a integrated system, which is very different, which is like very really fascinating, which is one thing. So that was really great. Other than that, I also found that okay, the private taxis, cars, those are not super expensive. Those are also kind of affordable. So I really like the mobility aspect of it, and it was pretty nice.
Okay, so one more thing I would like to share on this part, on the mobility part. So if you may know that I came to Singapore directly from the college, right? So I never had an experience of working in India. So I always had a dream of buying a car and moving around the city in my own car. But when I came to Singapore, then I came to know that the car prices are very, very high. And like, even for the smallest of the cars, you have to pay 100,000 Singapore dollars, which was like very unaffordable for me. So car is still a dream for me. And I hope I can buy a car one day in Singapore. I don't know when.
You will be able to do that, but yeah, it's very expensive, and public transportation is nice.
Okay, so moving on to our next question. So housing is covered, mobility is covered. What about the work culture? So you have moved to Singapore for changing of job, and what was the difference you see in the work culture compared to India?
So the expectations were kind of similar in terms of tech and in terms of like office hours, because I knew that my office hours will be like the standard 9 to 5, and then the work was kind of similar. There was not a major difference. So my expectations were this, like it will be similar. And in reality, I also find like there wasn't much change. The work wise, it was kind of similar. The work culture was same. One thing that I noticed was in terms of flexibility of working hours. In India, we know that the official hours are can probably be 9 to 5, but people tend to be more flexible with their timings. Like कुछ लोग होते हैं जो they prefer tend to like wake up late and then वहां से work करना शुरू करते हैं, maybe 11 to 7, or maybe like work late at night. But here in Singapore, I noticed specifically कि there was a different culture altogether. 5 baje, people are gone, and then they say that probably I'll only open my computer tomorrow morning. So that was some sort of culture that I noticed here more than my experience personally in India. So it can be in India you are not overtiming. You might be working same number of hours, but in a different time slot. But in general, that can also like end up in being harmful for your work-life balance. But here, people take it a bit too seriously about this 9 to 5 thing.
And in my current company, PayPal, we also follow a certain timing that we have a stand up in the morning, 11 o'clock. And okay, it's a COVID-19 time, so we are not going to office, so that's a different thing. But in general, if you go to office, so 11 to 7 or 11 to 8 is a normal timing, and nobody works after that. So Rajesh, let's talk about some monetary aspects. So we will talk about your not about your salary, but salaries in general, because I don't want to reveal private details to the public. So we will talk about salaries and we will talk about taxation in general compared to US or India. What was the difference did you see, and what was your expectations, and what is the reality about it?
So the expectations were so I'm working at Palantir, which is a US based company. So in general, I was thinking that the salaries in Singapore would be comparable to their US counterparts, because I thought like Singapore is pretty expensive country, so salaries would be similar. But during the salary negotiation phase, I realized that salaries in Singapore in general are 30-40% below the counterpart salaries in US. So that was the realization that I got when I was like doing the negotiation. And at that point of time, I also realized that even after that difference, the amount is still good because of the difference in taxation. So you might know that taxation in US is kind of like 30 to 40%, but in Singapore, it is like until 100K, it remains about 5%. So taxation is really less, due to which this salary cut of around 30 to 40% still balances out the money that you are making eventually.
So Rajesh, coming to our next question. So the salaries are covered, the work culture is covered, housing, mobility is covered. But what if somebody is not satisfied with their job and looking for a change? What do you think? How are the opportunities in Singapore? Are they same as India or US? What is the reality about it?
So expectations in general were that when I was moving to Singapore, I thought that it won't be very difficult to move in the same sector. Like in technical field, I'll be able to get another job easily, because I thought it would be compared to Bangalore or Silicon Valley. That was kind of my expectation. But in reality, I would say that I found that the number of opportunities in tech field are are lesser than what I was able to find in like Bangalore, Hyderabad, or even in the US side, because I think that there are more financial firms in Singapore compared to tech firms. In tech firms, you might be able to get jobs, but you might not be able to find that perfect role that you are looking for. That there are not, so they are not well spread enough to contain like a lot of different roles. So that was something that I realized, that in tech it is a little difficult to find a suitable role for yourself when it comes in number of like in terms of quantity. But on the other hand, I was able to find a lot of financial firms in Singapore which are like hiring a lot, and that pays a lot as well.
So you want to say that the opportunities are more on the financial side, but lesser on the tech side if we compare to a city like Bangalore.
Yes, that was my personal experience.
Let's leave work and let's leave opportunities and all the boring stuff and come to more fun stuff. So, how did you find the lifestyle in Singapore and the fun activities? What was your expectation about it? Because, again, it's an international city and people have different notions about it. So, what was your expectation regarding that?
So in general, सिंगापुर के बारे में सोचा था कि it's not big country, so most of the places, but it has many like tourist attraction. A lot of people come to Singapore to visit different places. So I thought ki I'll be able to visit different tourist locations. I'll enjoy those. But I also knew that okay, it will be done in 2 or 3 months. I'll be done with those locations, and it's a small country. What after that? So I didn't think about that much in terms of like what after those 2 3 months. So I just had expectations till that. In reality, I'll say that the same thing happened. सब कुछ पूरा देखा घुमा फिरा सिंगापुर की सारी locations को. Then I realized कि what other Singaporeans are doing, what other people who are in Singapore, what are they doing. I started asking them, and I came to know that they usually plan for okay, we'll go and visit nearby islands and nearby countries. So the amazing thing is that in like 1 or 2 hour flight, you can go to the nearby Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam. These are pretty nearby. Indonesia. So these are places where you can easily go in. In most of the places, you are not even required to take visa. If you have EP, you can use that to go straight away. So it was like you have a lot of things planned. But yeah, this was all pre-COVID. Till then, I did the same. हम लोगों ने देखी काफी जगह, and COVID ने full stop लगा दिया. But yeah, it was fun. You get to explore Southeast Asia a lot more from here. And Amit personally have visited all the Southeast Asian countries.
Thanks a lot for this added unnecessary information, but yeah, I think it will be helpful for our viewers. So, moving on to the last question, which is, I think, very different from all of the questions. So, till the time you were in India, you were an Indian citizen, you are an Indian citizen still, and you were working like normally, but now you are an expat in a foreign country. So, what difference did you feel? Like, what was your expectations regarding being an expat in a different country? Because we have seen in Bollywood movies that people go to different countries to live there and buy houses and do a lot of things there. But what was your expectation, personal expectations regarding being an expat in Singapore?
Yeah, Amit, to be honest, I had no expectations in general in this scenario, because I was not thinking that much about settling in Singapore or being a permanent resident, so I didn't expect that much. But there are still few points that I would like to tell, I would like to share, which I realized the differences between expats and citizens in general. That in Singapore, if you have certain disadvantages, like being an expat, you don't get a social security number, which gives you a CPF, which is kind of a provident fund or a retirement fund. You don't have it, you don't have the access to that. Other than that, you can't buy the government housing, the place where I live in, the HDBs. You can't buy such housing. You can only, like, if you have to buy something, you can only buy private apartments, which are super expensive. And one more thing that I noticed is, like, in terms of education, if you are going to start a family in Singapore, you will realize that it is possible that the Singaporean schools, they have very limited seats for expats. Mostly they have for Singaporeans and residents. So you will have to go to international schools, which are super expensive. So these are like some few things in general that I noticed. And which I think are true for other countries as well. But in general, we never think about it. हमारे mind में आता नहीं है ये सारी चीजें बाहर move करने से भी ऐसा कुछ नहीं था and आने के बाद ये सब पता चला.
Thanks a lot, Rajesh. I think ये वीडियो उन सब के लिए बहुत यूजफुल होने वाला है who are thinking of applying for a job in any country abroad, whether it be Singapore or US, but definitely if somebody is planning to come to Singapore, उसके लिए ये वीडियो बहुत यूजफुल होने वाला है. So before ending the video, can you please ask our viewers to like, follow, and subscribe to the channel?
So everyone, you're viewing the video, please like it, share it, and also subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have any doubts, any questions related to moving to Singapore or any other question in general, put it into comments. We'll try to answer mostly all the questions that are there in comments.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for joining us for this video. Please press the bell icon so that you never miss another video that can help you in your career, in your life, or in your moving to any other country. We will definitely come up with more such content week after week.
Peace.
Peace.